My name is Michael Jefferson. I'm an attorney by trade. I'm the founder of the Kiyama Movement, a movement dedicated to self improvement for African American males in particular, and Black people throughout the diaspora in general. And I'm on the show today because I want to talk about one of our initiatives in the Kiyama movement, which is Black Men Vote Too. And as the host was driving around town, he happened to come across some of the some of our posters and lawn signs out there that basically speaks to Black men vote too. And the whole idea is to encourage Black males to go to the polls and exercise the franchise, their right to vote.
Now, do we have a problem there with Black men going to the polls? Is that why you decided to do this?
Yeah, I think so. I think the numbers speak for themselves. The reality is in American society in general, and actually in most Western democracies, you don't see a large turnout of people in general going to the polls. I mean, the
Right.
average is around like 30% in some cases, and it depends on the election. Of course, in the 2020 presidential election, you saw a huge
Huge
number
turnout.
of folks come out. But in ordinary, annual elections, municipal elections, state elections, the numbers are not impressive at all. And Black males are among all demographics, least likely to participate in the electoral process.
And why do you think that is?
Well, for several reasons, I think there's a great deal of apathy um, in our community. I think there's a sense of disillusionment. I think folks are disillusioned by the process. Folks have been lied to for time immemorial, and they just don't trust the system. And so they basically vote with their backside. They just stay home.
They just
And
stay home,
yeah,
which
but
makes
when
things worse.
yeah, and that becomes problematic, particularly at the
Yes.
local level. No, I understand the national level. National level is a different animal because it's basically run by the corporations at that level. I mean that's who the politicians at that level are listening to, the folks who help fund their campaigns and all and keep them in power, particularly the incumbents. And so, but at the local level, folks should understand that they could make a huge difference in a given election. Certainly at the local level and the state level. Where you have your state representatives and
Sure.
state senators, because at those levels we're talking about education. You're talking about crime, and police intervention in general, public safety in general. You you're certainly talking about taxes and how your tax dollars are spent. You're talking about health. You're talking about infrastructure. You're talking about a great deal of a great many things that impact individuals' life. You
And
know,
directly.
directly,
Yeah.
directly, and you can make a difference as an informed voter, not just as a voter, not as someone who just goes to the poll because a friend says, come on out and vote for me, because there is that element, that lack of sophistication involved in the process. And let me just say this, because you had asked the question, why the apathy, and and some people just don't take politics that seriously. unfortunately, you know,
Yes, I think,
and
no, I think it's because, as you say, it's a lot of apathy. People cast their votes, they don't see any fruit from casting their votes. And after a while, they just say, to heck with it, which of course is the wrong attitude. And
I
but
agree.
is this how is this harming Black men by
How
not
is
going to? Yes, how is it
well,
harming
it
Black men?
impacts, no matter what you're talking about, the laws are still going to be made. I mean, regardless if you stay at home or not, how your child is educated is going to be decided by someone. And if you're not a voter, an informed voter, or someone who is active in your child's educational development, and I understand folks, might, be active in the home or be active in the school, but I think it goes beyond that. It goes to the point of making sure you have a direct impact on the individual who, for example, in the city of New Haven, select members of to the Board of Ed. Now,
Right,
in most municipalities in the state and towns, boards of education are elected. So each member is elected. In New Haven, you got a hybrid, but it still makes the point, whether they're elected or whether they're appointed, you have to be involved in that process. And if you're not involved in that process, you have to accept, the
whatever
result
they
of
hand
the
out to you.
election. That's right.
Right, whatever they hand
A
out to
member
you,
of the
that's what
Klan
it
could
says.
run, and next thing you know, he or she is making policy. And of course, it's an extreme example,
Example,
but still, someone, a member of the Klan can become a member of the Board of Ed and impact how your child is being educated.
and
And,
and and, and
it's
all due to ignorance because you don't get out there and you vote and you don't vote as an informed, as you
right,
say, an informed voter.
right, and we there's a great deal of intelligence in the community. You just have to go to any given barbershop and listen to the brothers talk about sports, and I mean, they can tell you salary caps, they can tell you every single rule that governs trades and whatever have you. I mean, this is some complicated stuff, and these
So,
guys are on it and they know it, and they're not just regurgitating things they hear. They study this stuff, they go online because it's of interest to them. And I've always said that if we apply that same type of intellect to the electoral system, we can make a huge difference. And I'm not here to tell folks who to vote for. I'm simply saying make an informed decision when you go to the polls. So Black Men Vote Too is basically directed at Black men, telling Black men, we have a voice too. Use
a
it.
strong voice.
We have a very strong voice. Use it. Get out there and vote. It's not a message directed at any other community. It's a message directed at a particular community and a particular demographic in that community, and that is Black males. Now, that's part two. We're not only talking about exercising the franchise, the right to vote, but we're basically offering some guidance in helping individuals become sophisticated voters. So we got about 10 rules that we use. If you go on the website, you can see, like, be an independent thinker is one. All that glitters isn't gold. Basically, the independent thinker thing is what Malcolm said. If you're not careful, your enemy will have you enemies and hating your friends. You'll be putting people in power that who's your enemy. If you're not an independent thinker. So that's rule number one. I know you want to say something. Go ahead.
I want to go back to the barbershop because you made a good point when you said that they, everything about sports and betting and, all the rest of that stuff. But at the same time, when I sit in the barbershop, I hear a lot of guys talking about issues that really affect our communities. And I'm always wondering, why aren't you out there? You recognize these problems. You talk about these problems right here in the barbershop, and yet we seem to be reluctant to, you know, to get
Yeah,
going.
well, it's that a lot of talk, no action, and actions clearly speak louder than words. And it's on the individual, James. It's not something that you can lead a horse to water, you can't make it drink.
Right,
You
that's
you
correct.
know you could talk folks to death about it, but people have to own it and they have to believe it and understand it. Look, last year we celebrated the 55th anniversary of probably the most significant piece of legislation um, in the modern era, and that was the Voting Rights
Voting
Act
rights.
of 1965, which basically empowered Black communities all over this country, and primarily in the former states of the Confederacy, the South, where we did away with all the barriers that prevented or greatly diminished our opportunities to vote in those states. And of course, parts of it has been gutted. In the 2013 Shelby Supreme Court case, the Roberts Court gutted part of that act by basically saying that the southern states no longer, upon changing laws, had to have it reviewed by the Justice Department before they implemented the law. And we can see right now how that's impacting
Right.
states everywhere, because
Everywhere, across
these
the
states
United
are coming
States,
up
right.
with draconian barriers to basically disenfranchise
But
and suppress
I
the
have
vote.
to I have to say, in these states that are passing these laws,
Mhm.
there doesn't seem to be much of an outcry from the people within the states. It seems all the outcry is coming from people outside these states.
Yeah, I can't really speak to it. We're clearly not seeing it here in Connecticut. Connecticut has one of the most liberal
Hmm.
voting policies in the country. I read about it, and I'm just not, equipped at the moment to address what's going on inside some of those states. I do see some pushback, like in the state of Georgia. You do see
Well,
folks
Georgia, yes.
like Abrams and others who are pushing back against these sort of things. I mean, the bottom line is, whether it takes 2 minutes to vote or hours to vote, you got to exercise the franchise. You have to exercise your right to vote. Listen, it wouldn't be so critical. It wouldn't be a big thing, and it's a big thing because folks they're doing everything in their power to stop it.
Right.
So it has to be a big thing. When the dominant culture, and particularly the Republican Party, are doing everything in their power to suppress, voting rights across this country. So when they start doing that,
You got
it's
them on the run. It's like being a
yeah.
reporter.
There's a sense of urgency on their
Urgency.
part, and clearly a sense of fear.
So, what are you going to do to get Black men to the polls? What exactly is your movement doing?
All we can do, Jim, that's a great question. But all we can do is, basically address the issue, and it's more or less, um, doing what we're doing now, doing our education campaign, making information available, doing a whole lot of encouraging of people to come out to vote. I think Michael Smart down there and I'm just giving you an example at the local level, who's the town clerk, has his office is very accessible, and he's doing a wonderful job in terms of making absentee ballots available to people and encouraging people, particularly given the situation with COVID, making it very accessible and making it very easy for people to vote by absentee ballot. So even if you don't want to go to the polls, you can have a absentee ballot application mailed to you. You can fill it out and have a ballot sent to you, and you can vote in the comforts of your own home. Because I do think some folks, you had asked the question earlier, I think some folks are like, intimidated by the whole thing. Folks who've never voted before are probably, intimidated by going to the polls. Yeah, I don't know what to do. I don't want to look,
stupid and so forth,
out of place. And but voting by absentee ballot makes it so simple. All you have to do is, do it, follow the guidelines, of course. You can't have folks hovering over you and stuff like that. But you can vote by absentee ballot. So listen, we're trying to encourage, we're doing a lot of word of mouth and education and putting this stuff on the website, encouraging people. We have an Instagram site, we have a Facebook site, and we certainly have a website, and folks are welcome to go visit us at the KiyamaMovement.com. And we are a movement. We are not an organization, Jim.
Tell me more about the movement, because I know that you guys have a lot of things going on within this movement. Everything geared toward educating the Black man and making him a better person. And you have things like the 5 steps, the 5 principles, the pledge. So give us an idea of what all this means.
Yeah, excellent question, Jim. Thanks for putting it out there. Well, the 5 principles, respect for life, sexual responsibility, commitment to fatherhood, respect for womanhood, and economic accountability. Those are the governing principles of the movement. The Kiyama movement was founded as a gift to Malcolm X on his 80th birthday back in 2005, I believe. And so we've been around, and basically the whole idea of the movement is we've seen where organizations have gotten us. Folks start, when you have organizations, folks start politicizing those things. Everyone want to be king or queen of the hill, and politics, internal politics, sometimes help to derail the mission and a given agenda, because folks are getting caught up in things that are insignificant in the broader scheme of things. You understand? So a movement allows people to do this on their own and within their own particular circles, right? So Jim might have his own circle, I have my own circle, and then we have interlocking circles. So, and we move like that. And that's the whole concept behind the Kiyama movement. And the 5 steps basically help to, govern those who want to be part of this movement. Understanding, the notion that we wear an indelible mark. You know what I'm saying? And because we wear the mark of the ex-slave, our black skin, then we are inextricably linked, whether you like it or not.
Right.
That's just how it is. And those who don't want to accept that, fine. I'm not here to debate anyone anymore. If you don't want to be part of that, that is fine. But it's not going to change how others view you or how others treat you. You understand? I mean, Candace Owens could be discriminated against at any given point in her life, and that probably has been. You know what I mean? In fact, she was, back in her high school days, she was discriminated against down there in Stanford, and the NAACP had to come to her defense. I remember it well. I was a legal advisor to the NAACP. So the point I'm making is, if you wear the indelible mark, it is what it is, and we have to. It's called the common thread doctrine, that because we wear the mark, we might as well work together. And step 2 deals with the permanence of racism. Derek Bell speaks very eloquently to this in his book, Faces at the Bottom of the Well, where he talks about the permanence of racism, that it's not going anywhere. It's here.
Not.
And it will adjust to maintain white dominance and white supremacy. The whole notion of us, we talk about uh, self-reflection, the idea of, asking yourself, can I be better? Can I be better? The notion of looking one in the and looking yourself in the mirror and challenging each one of us, yourself in particular, um, to be a better person. And then of course you got to look at the overall and general health of the community, the level of our commitment to education in the community. Those are some of the things that the Kiyama movement like to address as a whole. The other initiative that we've taken on is what we call our war on ignorance. There's a lot of ignorance in our community, Jim.
Yes, too much.
Yeah, a lot. And we have what we call a war on ignorance, where we address some of those things we consider ignorant. You understand? I mean, because sometimes it comes right down to just being flat out decent. Jay.
Right.
You know what I mean? Where we need to learn how to resolve conflicts and prevent conflicts and have a sense of decency. If I'm riding next to Jim on a given day, there's no reason where my car music, if I'm going through your neighborhood, has to be blasting. For what purpose is? What is the purpose of that? Where my music is you're having a nice little sit down with your family on the deck, enjoying a nice summer afternoon, and here comes somebody listen, I get it. You like your music. Fine. Keep it to yourself. These are some of the things that the whole issue around littering. And I'm not trying to nitpick or anything, but we don't have to litter in our community. You look at other communities, you don't see the litter that you see in our community. And that's our fault. That's nobody else's fault. That's our fault.
That's our fault. We throw garbage out the window.
Littering, but it's all based on ignorance. And ignorance is a difference between stupidity and ignorance. I mean, stupidity is basically, riding your bike on I-90, a bicycle on I-95, and, in the wrong direction. You know what I mean? That's just flat out stupid. Ignorance is just not knowing any better. And we have to do a better job of, educating our people and teaching our people about certain things. And look, Jim, it's we take a general approach. This is not every Black person. Let's just be clear about that.
Yeah, of course not.
But you know what I mean? Because, most people got sense and most people don't do those things. But we have an element that unfortunately needs some more guidance. And that's what we have to do. And Black men in particular have to stand up and be men, because and that's why one of our principles is commitment to fatherhood, because Black men have not stood up to the degree that we can and we're capable.
Yeah, we have too many that have not stood up, and it casts a really ugly eye on other Black men. Mm-hmm. It's one thing I've noticed that, unlike with white men, when Black men do something, it reflects on all Black men, particularly if it's a bad thing. It's a bad thing. It reflects on all Black men. Well,
right. But you know what, Jim? I don't even let the dominant culture validate us. I don't care how the dominant culture feels about Black people. They always have
something to say.
And a negative perspective, a negative view on Black people. It's how we feel about ourselves, Jim. How Jim feel about himself, how Mike Jefferson feel about himself, and how we feel about each other. And that's what's important. Are we satisfied with what we see? Clearly, I'm not satisfied, because I'm a prisoner of hope, and I have a very strong belief in myself, and I have a strong belief in the Black community. I know we could do better, and particularly men. Black women that we just need to give them a break. In fact, we should just build them a statue, because they have held us down for time immemorial. And Black men, if you look at the Kiyama symbol, it basically addresses that. And I encourage people to go to the website to look at what we call the broken circle, because it explains just, our commitment and our appreciation, I should say, for Black women. So it's really, Black men, we just got to get our act together. We
It's
really
funny,
do.
I was at Edgewood Park yesterday, and I was talking to another Black guy pretty much about the same thing. And he just has a different attitude about Black women and so forth. And I said to him, one of the major problems I've seen is the level of disrespect that many Black men show to Black women. I said, we have children, we just leave them. Even if we don't leave them, even if we are still in their lives, we begrudgingly give them a little money to help here and there. And we just need to do a better job. And I told him, look at what Black women are doing. If it wasn't for Black women, we would really be in a very desperate situation. And that is,
You're not kidding.
yeah, and I mean, that's with everything from education to, it's Black women that seem to be getting the degrees, to opening up the businesses and so forth. So Black women have really held down the fort. And you're right.
Absolutely.
They should be applauded for that, without a doubt.
Absolutely, Jim. And when folks want to talk about slavery, it was far worse for Black women, and far worse for Black women. And I'm not here to say, okay, discount what happened to us as a people, because you can never do that, or discount what happened to Black men as men during that horrific period in our history. All I'm suggesting is that thank God for Black women for surviving that and keeping us afloat this long, because they've come at us in so many different ways, Jim, and we have to continue to be resilient, and we have to become a little, somewhat smarter in terms of our approach to our resurrection.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
you understand? We can't fall for the same tricks and that we've fallen for over the years, and it starts. I got to be honest with you. One of the places it starts is with electoral politics.
Which we really need to get rid of, but
and it's not going anywhere anytime soon. And so what we have to do is learn how to play that game in a way that's beneficial to us. And again, not fall for the the same nonsense and tricks that folks have used against us for time immemorial.